The man-made masterpiece that is Venice. Not somewhere you might think of as a place to try to solve Britain's housing problems. But these three young curators think it is. Their show in the British Pavilion argues our attitude to the home needs to change. It shouldn't be how big it is, but how long you need it for. Starting with a home for days. Who needs a house just for a few days? And in what way do these fulfill that function?
Well, why don't we jump in and I'll tell you. Hi, feeling at home?
Well, I can see it might work to amuse the kids, but I can't quite see how it works as a home.
Well, these are almost representative of the sorts of virtual bubbles we feel at home in. When you're somewhere for a couple of days, the first thing you might want to do is connect to the virtual networks that make us feel like we're connected to our friends and families.
It's an interesting point, but I'm not so sure about the Zorbs. Wouldn't a good old-fashioned tent do the same job better? Well, that was the home for days, and this is the home for months. And Finn, I can't say what's the big idea because it's a tiny space, but what's the idea?
Well, home ownership's increasingly out of reach for our generation, and a lot of us are living month to month paying rent. And the idea here is really, well, how can you redesign rent? What you've got here is everything you need. You've got a bed upstairs, you've got a bathroom in here, and you've got a small kitchen round the back. And you can survive quite happily within this small core. And then beyond that, you've got this space, if you imagine a series of other blue totems going off into the distance that you can share with your fellow residents.
I think they're onto something here. A contemporary take on the boarding house. Affordable city living for the I generation. Who might aspire to this home for years? Well, I've got to say, it's kind of sparse. Jack, what's the story here?
One of the biggest problems in UK housing today is speculation, and of course fittings and furnishings have become engines for generating extra profit. What we tried to do here was really to create the minimum house by pulling out all the interior and stripping it back to what we call the naked house or a shell to give you the cheapest possible mortgage.
Their most radical proposition is the notion of individuals pooling resources for a better quality of life. Domestic appliances, clothes and even shoes could be shared. An idea that might seem a little far-fetched to some, but for these millennials who have grown up in an age of student debt and rocketing house prices, it could just be a practical solution to a pressing problem. Will Gompertz, BBC News, Venice.